Enter the crib. Your strike back sit rep starts in 3, 2, 1. Wait, do we go on 0?
Okay, guys, welcome back. We are here to talk about episode 4 of Warrior. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Deb.
And spoilers ahead. And Deb, tell them what we got for them.
We have Big Bill himself. Kieran Bew is going to be on after the review.
Yeah, so stick around after the review. Hear from Kieran. That was such a good, we just adore him. And not only that, but he has given us a hookup. So we have all kinds of guests for the rest of the season on top of who we already planned on. So lots of good stuff coming for you guys, including next week, Mr. McCarthy fans, Joe Taslim! If I don't faint and pass out and never make another podcast again. So.
Faint and pass out again.
So, yeah.
Kelsey's a little excited to talk to Mr. Taslim.
I am. As long as I don't, look like a tomato, start sweating, have a heart attack. But you guys will know I went out happy. Not in like a weird way. Shit. Anyways, Warrior, spoilers ahead. Episode 4. Deb, what'd you think?
Oh man, what an episode. Oh, why don't we just record that and we'll just put that at the beginning of every podcast. No. Oh my God, what an episode. Oh, but I love the title of it. If you didn't see blood, you didn't come to play.
Yeah.
I mean, this episode is just, first of all, we get the aftermath of the hit on Bill's house, which was, oh my God. I mean,
brutal.
Everything's just falling apart for Bill. Every time you think it can't fall apart anymore, let's throw something else out there that he can't control. That was brutal. And then just how, you're seeing all the building blocks for the rest of the season coming into play in this episode, and man, I think we said this and when we were talking with Kieran that, there's so many more characters this year. It's so much more dense. And yet we really are feeling the characters this season. We really are so much more emotionally connected to all of them. We were with Bill and with Assam and Lee and not even Young June as much last year, but this year.
Jason.
Yeah.
And he's an interesting character, but he didn't feel, I mean, you're right, the depth, the emotional depth that we've seen. Yeah.
Even though we have so much more coming at us this season, it seems like, there's just not a wasted word or minute this year. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I thought this was great. I thought, you get the aftermath of one at the beginning and the aftermath of the other at the end, which I felt like really capped it very well on either side. Both basically from people being stupid. One, Bill's long running stupidity, and then fucking Sophie.
Oh my God.
Who just has no excuse. I get it. She feels no agency and she's trying to find some, but what she did was so beyond the pale.
Yeah.
To target her own sister's business.
Her own livelihood. I mean, this is what she lives off of as well. And I love that Leary pointed that out. Turning against your own people, you're going to pay for that. That was just okay, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, unbelievable. There was so much good in this episode. Yeah, okay, so I mean, I don't know where to start. But I mean, I guess we always start with fight. So what was your fight of the night?
Yeah. Well, I think we kind of only really had one actual fight. Right?
Yeah.
Which was in the
factory.
In Mercer Steel.
So, yeah.
Yeah, which was pretty vicious. That was... And especially, I love that it was well, there's nobody down here, and then whoom, they get swarmed. That was wild. But for me, my favorite fight, and I don't even, it wasn't even much of a fight. It was pretty one-sided, but was Penny letting Sophie have it.
Okay.
Just
ripping her.
Oh, I loved that. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, then Sophie has to have her, revenge and takes it out in the worst possible way. Like, the truth hurts, huh? Huh, Sophie? Oh
Yeah.
my God. But yeah, I mean, everything. And it's so wild because when I was watching it, I was thinking of all the themes that are sort of running through this season, the classism and the racism and the anti-immigration and, that period's opioid crisis. And I just got to that. And, all I could think of was that Sophie was sort of like, when she was like, you've done nothing, you've contributed nothing.
Yeah.
You just sit back and judge and, now go hang with your friends or wherever it is that you sit and judge from. And all I could think of was social media. It's like she was such a poster child for
Yeah.
the bad side of social media, where people are not really doing anything except bitching.
Yeah.
and
It's
attacking people from
That's
the
so
safety
funny.
of
I
their
hadn't
basements.
even. Yeah, she's like a troll,
Yeah,
but a troll who blew up a factory.
exactly.
God.
So then when she finally does get
Yeah.
involved,
Oh, she's like QAnon.
yeah.
I'm a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Freaking people. Yeah. So I actually said picked my favorite fight was also not really a fight. It was the moment when Mei Ling and Atoy meet. So you have this beautiful like martial arts demonstration. Both women are like practically salivating at this guy's like moves, and then they meet, and like Atoy with her like she is perfectly polite, but like everything in her screams "fuck you" to Mei Ling, who is just like, oh, just egging her on, just like fucking bring it. Those two together, I thought that was brilliant.
And the subtext of what was going on there, like, oh, so you know who I am.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I know who you are.
Yes.
Oh, the power play going on there.
Yes.
Just, that's right. I know exactly who you are.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was brilliant. And so not like a fight in a traditional sense, but it felt
it was
cutting.
A power play.
I was like, that's some Young Jun word daggers there. Like, yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Really, there's some good moments in tonight's.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's hard to believe that that's the first time those characters have met.
I know. I was shocked I thought, oh, I just assumed.
Yeah.
I didn't even put it together at all until then that they hadn't met before. Man, I just love this show. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and daydream about how much I love this show. Okay, so then emotional moment for you.
Oh my God, I have like a full page of emotional moments written down. Oh, I mean, just so much between Bill and Lee. I mean, that was just devastating when Lee realized that everything that's happened to him is because of Bill.
Yeah.
That was just, and Kieran's so good at playing that sort of, I don't know, that wounded look and that desperate look, but also you can see the wheels turning of how am I gonna get myself out of this, all at the same time. But then when he came back to his house at the end, and left the door open like he always does, even though
I know, right?
I was waiting for them to come get him. Close the door. You're a marked man. But that look on his face when he's holding his kid's bloody doll was just devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also really liked Mei Ling's little speech about I've known nothing before.
Yeah.
And, that hit home. That was, I mean, you never are far from understanding why she is the way she is. And so that was good. But Lucy and Bill.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm with you. The doll really hit. Like, it's all bloody, and it just brings home like that it was there. You know,
Mhm.
he invited that into his house, his actual home, and almost lost his kid.
Yeah.
And that was
And maybe the child's
yeah.
still alive, but he
Yeah, but I guess I mean
has,
like
yeah.
at least he knows he's alive, you know.
Yeah.
But
But
whew,
she's gone, and man, she is that's the end for her. I mean, that's the line
yeah.
I don't know that she's ever going to forgive him for,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Irish Catholics, so they're married forever, but whether she ever truly comes back to him, I don't know. So that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the other thing too was Lee going into Atoy's place and
Yeah.
her leading him upstairs because it definitely crossed a pretty hard line there. You can't even pretend that this is medicinal if you're going into an actual opium den and smoking.
Right.
You know,
And
yeah.
when she said, it's okay, officer. So
Yeah.
everyone there knows
Yeah.
he's a cop. You know, she didn't need to do that. But yeah, everyone sort of is at their breaking point in this almost. And including Chow. Chow's meeting with Bill.
Mm.
Chow's voice, when he's trying to be sort of cold and here's the deal and here's what I can do and here's what I want. And when Bill's kind of trying to pretend he has any control and Chow's like, no, no. And his voice from that point on is like quivering.
Yeah.
He's angry. He's also kind of getting a little desperate, like, no, you need to respect the chance that I'm taking here. This is not a small thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he's clearly going to go get his kid, it's like, okay, if I don't make it out of this, I need to make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love Chow this season. He's really he's vulnerable, and yet he's still working hard to try to salvage it,
Yeah.
Mm.
You know what's amazing though, and we did talk to Kieran a little bit about this, is I'm realizing we're on episode 4 of a second season, and I don't think we've had a whole lot of moments that we've talked about Assam.
Yeah,
and
that's
he's
true.
Supposed to be the main character. Now we do know there's like some heavier stuff coming, with him in both emotional and fight moments. But it's like as a through line, it's very unusual for a main character to have so many
Mhm.
background moments. And he's the bones of it.
Mhm.
He's the structure, but like.
But it truly is a true ensemble this year.
Yeah.
This season is really.
Yes, I think, and that's it. Yes, it does feel like it's morphed more from last year to this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really. And when we first said it was like more characters, but it's totally paying off.
Yeah.
Even the tiniest, smallest characters, like the investigator that Mylene hired.
Yeah.
These tiny little roles are really profound.
Yeah.
There's some big stuff coming from these small roles, and it's a great pace, and it's really just so much more emotional, and just, oh my God, it's just so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, there was another the scene between Assam and Penny.
Oh yeah, where they had like yeah.
That was a little bit of sexual tension.
It was. I wrote he had a moment, and also he made a point to say what we've been saying along, that he's got a plan.
Yeah.
That he wants, this business to be his. He has bigger ambitions, which we've been saying. But yeah, that was definitely like a moment.
Oh yeah. I just was like, wow, that was steamy, and all it was just touching her face, like, woo.
I was gonna say, so like, Andrew Koji is very handsome. He's not Joe Taslim. He's very attractive, but when he turns on the like smolder thing, he does really well. It's just that he doesn't walk around smoldering all the time like Joe Taslim, who's just like a fire elemental or something. Guys, I'm gonna be so screwed next week. I'm not a stalker, I promise. Anyways, okay, so yeah, moving on really quickly. What the fuck moment? What's your biggest what the fuck moment?
Well, I guess, for the surprise what the fuck moment, I think, was young June standing up for Hong. And that sort of
that was great, right?
Yeah. That was like right out of the Untouchables in that Capone moment when he's laughing and then bashes the guy's skull in with a baseball bat. I'm like, what? Yeah. I don't even know, is there anything left of that guy's brain to be able to treat Hong with any respect? But that was a really important moment.
But he won't be disrespecting him.
Exactly. Nobody will be. But yeah, the ultimate, you're in. Hong.
You're in. We still kind of think you're annoying, surfer dude, but you're my annoying.
But I think probably the biggest one was just the fact that Sophie went so far.
Yeah. Because you're just literally going, what the fuck, Sophie? Yeah. Agreed. And not only betraying her sister, betraying her livelihood, but wanting to go with them to like see it through. I was like, that takes some serious like malice in that moment. And she obviously regrets it, and she should.
Oh, yeah.
And she's
malice, but also ignorance.
Yes.
But she thought this was going to be like going to a play.
Yeah.
This was like, oh, this
it was a game.
Fun.
Yeah, it was a game.
Just having no clue of what really was going to be happening. And you could see that, when it did blow and it was such a massive explosion, which I thought the way they filmed that explosion, so cool that it was like just this, if you looked at the way the fuses were set, that he kind of set them in the circle and then the fuses went out like ripples,
It was the it was a very strike back worthy explosion.
It was very good, and it was also so symbolic that you had those fuses going off in all different directions, reverberating out, and then boom, it all just hits the fan. And I just thought that was beautiful because they didn't necessarily
that was a good pickup.
Thank you.
I'm like, emotion. You're like, isn't it beautiful? They set them in circles and it comes out and and I'm like, oh, that is beautiful now that you explain it to me. emotion.
A lot of emotion right after that, but
I'm so thankful to have someone smarter than me to do this podcast.
I'm not smarter. I just noticed
definitely smarter than me. That's okay. Anyways, yes. Yeah.
I also, I want to just a quick throwback to the scene between Atoy and Mai Ling. The look on Liang's face during all of that was also one of my sort of smaller what the fuck moments.
Yeah.
Because you would think sort of as her, main protector.
He's pissed about the laundry thing. I think,
he's really pissed about that. But he's also he looks at Atoy briefly, but then when Mai Ling makes it clear that this is like I'm putting you in your place.
Yeah.
He gives Mai Ling this look of like literally what the fuck.
Yeah.
And
it's like
never stops
disdainful.
looking at her.
Yeah.
Whereas, sort of in his protector role, you'd think he's
always looking around. Yeah.
Looking, and he's going to watch for Atoy's reaction. But no, he's looking at Mai Ling thinking, is she going to go off?
Yeah.
So that was just that lot. He was like, what the? Never stops looking at her with this sort of, oh my God, look on his face.
Yeah.
Bordering between sort of surprise and disgust.
Right.
And that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
She better not do anything to him.
No. That would be terrible.
Ugh.
I mean, I get that, like, and that's one of my, I guess, questions is with that, because of the laundry thing and him saying, like, this is not what I asked you to come down here and help them out, give them a loan. And now they're beholden to you for way over their head for what they can never pay back.
Right.
And
they'll never be done paying her because she's going to
yeah,
take
well, that's what I mean. That's way
40%.
so far. Yeah, that it's like they're indentured servitude, basically.
Exactly. I mean, that's their profit right there.
Yeah,
I mean,
and for him to have like brought attention to them to try to help, and my concern is just he's loyal, but he is questioning. I think reasonably questioning, but she may not see it as reasonable. And is there a point at which she's going to try to, his head has to go because he's not supporting her in the way that like she wants, and I don't want that to happen for so many reasons, but also because he's a good character.
Yeah, and he's trying to in that sort of messed up way to stay honorable, and she just at every turn undercuts that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's rough. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that, and like now, I mean, with the factory exploding, what the fuck is going to happen with Assam's, like, and Young Jun have so much drugs there, like how they're going to be able to fix that.
Yeah.
And Penny, I mean, having just stood up to the mayor and been able to like, use a lawyer to figure out that she got to keep the city contracts and stuff, and now he's going to have an easy out, fucking scumbag.
Yep.
And what happens with that?
And what is it that Mylene might have on Buckley? What is that photo all about? Can't wait to find that out.
Yeah. I'm like, is it hookers in a Dexter room? Yeah.
Somehow I'm thinking that's really not all that out of the norm.
That's true. That is true, actually. That probably they'd be like, well, were they Chinese? Who cares? Unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean.
So it's got to be pretty
yeah,
majorly either illegal or breaking some sort of massive social norm for the time. Because there doesn't seem to be too many lines that people aren't, concerned about crossing. So
man.
And that speech from the mayor about, it's time to protect real Americans, and
it's so gross. Just turns my head. It like turns my stomach to hear it then and now. And I mean, it's just like when Leary gave the speech to Assam, and he's like, real Americans in his Irish accent. And I'm like, what? You're such a dick.
Yeah. And I love Assam is just, everyone just underestimates him and assumes that he's, their stereotype. And it's like, well, if you're such a real American, why do they keep fucking you over at every turn?
Was it this episode or last when they're like, how do you speak English? And he goes like, it's really not that difficult. And I was like, I love him. Yeah. Yeah. It all kind of has blurred a little bit. I'm like, what's that? 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, lots to go. So,
what a season.
Yeah. Six episodes left. So much to happen. And guys, look, the show is gonna come out on HBO Max the day after, or immediately after it's done airing on Cinemax.
I believe so.
We're gonna get a bigger audience, for it there to get it renewed, but it is not by any means guaranteed. It's been a year and a half since they stopped filming. They need audience, they need social media engagement. So if you're listening, get out there, #SaveWarriorMax, let them know that you love the show. Tag HBO, make sure that they understand that people are watching. Help us, live tweet with us at 10 Eastern on Fridays. Let's get these guys some views and some engagement online so that HBO renews this, because this fucking show is good.
It's amazing. And we need to know what happens with these
Yeah.
people beyond this season. And, this is a cast who they love being on this show. They love everything about this. And, they're really responsive to the fans. And it's time to pay them back for that and get out there. #SaveWarrior. Start talking about it online beyond just replying to them or saying, I love this show. Give me season 3. Well, season 3 at this point is not happening because Cinemax is done. There's no more programming out of Cinemax. And the only way it's going to happen is for this show to do really well this year.
Yeah.
And
to
HBO
do great
to
on
pick it up.
HBO Max. Yeah. So, and make sure
So get your friends watching.
Yeah. And go on the Strike Back Crib Twitter. We retweeted an article that someone started a petition and it's got a bunch of signatures. Go on there, sign the petition. I don't know if HBO ever looks at those things, but it can't hurt. Takes 5 minutes, 5 seconds
At least
of your
it
time.
lets us know who everyone else is out there who loves this show.
Yeah.
And make sure you're on the post show on after the 10 o'clock airing on 10 o'clock Eastern airings on Friday nights. Olivia Chang is doing an Instagram live after every show now. So, watch the show and then get on Instagram because she's a lot of fun and it's a great chance to give back to the show.
Yeah.
So live tweet and then head over to Instagram.
Yeah, very cool. All right. So Save Warrior Max. Next up, Kieran. Let's do Big Bill. Nope. I'm going to cut that and say, I'm going to say, let's go, Big Bill. Not let's do.
No. We know he's committed to Lucy because that one woman, he has one line he won't cross. That's it.
We're not at Xfil. Stay with us at the crib.
Welcome back, Meebers and Warrior fans. We just got done with one hell of an episode, and we are so excited to have Kieran Bew here to talk about what the hell is going on with Bill. Hey, Kieran.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for coming back. I think "What the fuck, Bill" has become Deb's new tagline.
All about you're breaking my heart.
Oh man, episode 4. Bill and Lee are not doing so good.
Just Bill and everybody. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what the fuck, Bill? The problem there is that you're trying to put faith in a person who keeps demonstrating to you that you shouldn't put faith in him. So I think that's you might have to revise your opinion of Bill, Debs, in order to not feel the what the fuck Bill moment. I mean, Lucy finally puts her foot down only when she's shot someone in the head. Does she decide that she's going to take kids away from him? So
that was brutal. I mean, that fight, that was one of the most brutal we've seen on the show, and the aftermath, of course. And then I think maybe the most, I don't know if it was more heartbreaking her actually leaving or him coming back to an empty house and finding the bloody doll. Ugh.
I think we need to talk about that fight. I mean, I know it didn't happen in this episode, but let's talk about that fight. That was amazing.
I was really excited when I saw that was coming up in the script, and I think initially my instinct was, oh no, that's happening way too soon. I sort of wanted to drag out the Bill being on the porch paranoia thing longer, and because right from season 1, like right in the middle of season 1, I have moments where Bill's outside and he's smoking and he's doing things, and I was always really aware of this guy has a target on his back and people trading information here, and he's trying to leverage for things all the time and put pressure on people, and those people will definitely know where he lives. And so this guy, because he presents himself in certain situations larger than he is and more capable than he is, because he has to, like with criminals or people at work, inside he's actually he's a mess, he's frightened, and he's got pretty severe PTSD. He has a drink problem, a gambling problem. He's exhausted all the time, and he's pretty jumpy. And so I sort of had personally thought a lot about that. And yeah, I kind of felt like, oh no, we're going to let all the air out of the balloon by having them come to the house so soon. And in the end, I was like, oh, it's exactly right. Let's get this ball, get it moving, because now the consequences, like now what's the next move? That's the thing, is he's always trying to think, however many steps ahead and who he's going to need to manipulate. And now it's really bad. So I was actually thrilled that the fight itself was fun to film and really unique for the show. Because normally in the show we have these choreographed numbers where Brett has spoken to each of the cast members about their fighting style, and everyone's come with a certain vocabulary of what their character would have known or learned, and a style, and everything gets thought through that meticulously. Our stunt department is phenomenal. They do it with Steadicam, with full cameras, with lenses and everything before we get on the shooting day, so that they know that the cameras can actually operate in the spaces they're going to have to be in, because there's no point in them choreographing something and then having to change it. It doesn't help anyone to do that. So that in itself is an amazing amount of prep. Now, the fight in our house, they asked some of us what we wanted, and from my point of view, I said, well, we've already expressed that these guys have a different vocabulary. So what's Bill's? What's Lee's? What's Lucy's experience? It doesn't make sense for us to do kung fu or do something that is a stylized fight. And for me, I wanted to do something that was less about fight choreography necessarily, but more about a visceral experience of how scary it might be that somebody is going to come at you who is, despite whatever experience Bill has, is more formidable. Which was funny because David Petrarca had a similar idea and wanted it to just be really messy and scrappy, and so he and Brett had to really work that out together, and that's tricky because those are two different styles, two different approaches. But as usual, Brett's just so brilliant at adapting and creating an environment that's not only what a director wants, but it keeps us as actors safe. So the house, Bill's house is built on the lot. It's not in any of the studios. So when we film there at night, it's cold and it has to be managed carefully. And it is also a solid set that was built with certain walls and things you can move, but not the actual structure. And yet alongside the staircase where I'm fighting, that whole wall, they're amazing. The team, they chopped the whole thing out and they rebuilt a structure so the house was safe, and they put cameras on wires. And while we're fighting, they had cameras zipping along the wires as it was going on. So there will be footage of the fight where there are entire long takes that takes everything in. Of course, in an edit, things do get up inevitably. It was a really weird, different experience to what we'd normally do. And we had a lot of discussions about the suspense of the moment when I turn around and the knife is at Ethan's throat, and the timing of Tom suddenly appearing and managing to get past me and Ethan get up the stairs before I get in the house. Like, there was a lot of arguments about, that's not going to read, this doesn't make sense, we've got to work it out. And actually watching it, I'm like, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to everyone now. And it was a fabulous, I mean, Emily was so excited to be involved in that kind of side of things. I don't think she initially thought that was going to be part of the job. And it was, even filming the scenes beforehand where we're having dinner, knowing the detail that's going into those scenes and the care and how the tone is different would then inform the explosion of the fight, or even going back further than
I was just curious about working with a kid in a fight like that, and how difficult it is integrating a kid into the fight choreography.
Yeah, integrating a kid, of any age into any filming can be really, really tricky. And of course they cast kids, but some kids have more of an aptitude than others. Some have got loads of training, and that means that when they perform, it is a sort of learned performance, which sometimes can be quite rote. And of course, that's great. That's what you need, consistency, and you can get it done. And kids, of course, have a specific shooting time as well that they can be on set. They have to be chaperoned. There's lots of planning and contingency and making sure they're okay. Especially if the show is something that's adult, where we're using adult language, and we're all parents, so we're all thinking about that. And especially seeing where there's blood everywhere and sharp knives and guns, and you really do think about how this is for the kid. The little boy that plays Ethan, and I forgive me because it's well over a year and a half since we filmed together. I think his name is Caleb. He is the best. He's the most talented child actor I've ever worked with in 20 years. He is incredible. He can improvise. Some of the stuff that he does in the show and says is improvised.
Wow.
That he did in rehearsals. He would improvise in rehearsals so much that people would be laughing and corpsing because he's funny. And then also just natural. He would respond. He'd start having conversations with us, like in character.
Wow.
He's a superstar. And I think Lonnie, the director, and a couple of the other guys who, of course, work on many, many different shows, were keeping an eye on him. I don't know what he's doing right now. And I hope he retains that playfulness, because as adults, we're kind of always taught that acting is, you have to be vulnerable and creative. So it's like my old drama school teacher used to say, it's about being childlike without being childish. So a kid like him who just has this natural ability to be playful, it's really weird. It's kind of, it's amazing. It doesn't come around very often. And he was brilliant. And just not bothered at all, covered in blood by the end, and like, yeah, this is great. We're all just playing. Like, yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do for a job. We just play. We're playing cops and robbers right now. That's great. He's not bothered.
You brought up the timing of the whole porch aspect of this, and I will say the first time I watched it, I was like, when you see them in the background, my expectation as a viewer was that it was going to take Bill a couple beats to realize what was going on and to respond to it, but his reaction is immediate. And you just brought that up, that the timing didn't feel right to you, but now it does work. And I do have to say that, it makes sense that Bill wouldn't even need a second to respond to that or to take that in, because he's so expecting this to happen. But again, as a viewer, it's like the scene before when they're having dinner, and it's so nice, your family. Oh, look, Bill's happy. The second Bill's happy, the shit's gonna hit the fan. So
yeah. Well, there's a through line from season one, which, of course, me playing Bill, I track it meticulously and enjoy it because it's mine. But if you go back to episodes 4 and 6 of season 1, when the debt collector comes, the way that Bill manipulates his old friend and deals with that issue is to grass him up to O'Leary, because the worst thing you can do in the Irish community that helps and leans on each other is work for the wrong people. You can do that, but you have to get permission and you have to discuss it, and it has to be understood why it's happening. And Bill takes over that guy's job. So right from the very beginning, or the end of season 1 anyway, Bill can be scared of loads of different people: work, authoritative figures, prison, anyone he meets in the gambling world, and all the different tongues and all those different things. But probably the scariest person is Leary, because it's like his older brother, and it's home. Like, it's the safe place. Like, one of the safe places is the Banshee. And I get leaned on in there, and it's awful. And there are other obligations, the pressures that come with it. But still, at the same time, he knows there are places he can go back to if things get really bad, which is a police station or the Banshee and the pub and the community he's part of. So, like, the stress of all that in taking out sort of the build up towards telling Zing to finally go F himself, having worked for a couple of months. And the pressure of working those couple of months, scared that someone's going to tell Leary, someone's going to find out, all of that kind of drama, plus the guilt of what Zing did to Lee. Because Bill's not necessarily always behaving in a way that is like pure. Like him inviting Lee around to the house and keeping an eye on him he's a powder keg. This kid who's honest, who's going to tell him other people all of Bill's secrets. Like, it's not just good intentions. It's about controlling the lies and the situation. So, I mean, Bill snaps and finally tells Zing to go F himself because he can't deal with the wife. The wife is the thing that pushes him over the edge because it reminds him of his own wife, and it's the one thing he won't violate. And he tells Zing to F himself. And then the next thing he does, he goes to the police station and makes sure that Lee comes around for dinner.
Yeah.
Because he needs him. Because he needs the protection. He needs to know he's okay.
Yeah.
He needs to know what's going on with the drugs. And he knows he needs an extra person in the house. And then over the process of the dinner, they relax and they forget. And he gets family, and he forgets for a second. And just when he forgets, and it feels good. Yeah. And that's when I read that stuff and the guys like Evan and Josh and Jonathan and all the writers that put that stuff together, when I see it, I get so excited because I'm like, wow, look at all this amazing detail you guys wrote. And I'm way too enthusiastic. And they're like, yeah, you wrote this amazing detail. It's going to be so much fun. And they're like, okay, Kieran, go and have fun. I'm like, I'm going to have so much fun. I'm like, and I feel like a crazy person because I'm like, I saw all this incredible detail you put in. And I think they do. And sometimes I think I read more in than maybe they think is there. But anyway, that was all leading up to that.
Too, so.
Yeah. I think it's what makes the character feel real, though, is because it feels real to you.
Yeah.
And that comes through.
Well, that's the hope that you don't, like, whether or not anyone ever remembers or notices the detail that you put in. I watch these programs with people who I admire, and I can rewatch Deadwood or Sopranos or anything again and again and again, and I'll see things and go, Jesus, I've seen this 10 times. I didn't realize that he did that. Like, and how would you? Like, some things are so small. Like, how can you possibly pick up on every little cue or Easter egg?
I know I pick up on nothing, so. Deb's constantly like, didn't you catch this? I'm like, nope, not even a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I'm the same way. I'll watch something 25 times and find something 25 new things, so.
Yeah. We just interviewed Langley Kirkwood yesterday for episode 8, so we won't spoil, but there was like a thing about Buckley that we were talking about, and he explains connections, and afterwards I texted Deb and I was like, I had no fucking clue. And she's like, wasn't that obvious? And when you make those two, and I was like, not even a little bit. Like, I just
yeah, and Langley particularly has got stuff that he's been doing from the very first scene that are like is seeding things. But so I have to tell you, like, every actor in the show has those. Every actor in the show has those. And a director like Lonnie, I was saying before, was Lonnie when he started, had little meetings with each of us in the cast and said, what's important to you? What texture, what detail, what kind of props, what things do you think your character would carry? What would be in their house? Is there anything that's not there? Is there anything you need? Is there anything you'd like that I can talk to the props department about? And everyone had that meeting. And then Lonnie went to the design departments and said, is it possible to, make these things without breaking everyone's budget and time and stressing everyone? Just like, how can we think about this detail? And it's amazing. It's all there, like in various forms. And I don't think anybody expects to see things, I think we as performers expect people to, but it's for us, it anchors everything and it makes it more real, and hopefully it makes it easier for us to play stuff that, because some days you go to work and you think, oh man, I've got to do this scene, and I just feel like I feel terrible today, like especially scene where it's like he cries hard, and you're like, I can't cry today, there's absolutely no chance I can cry today. So you're like, what am I gonna do? Like pull hairs out of my leg or think about awful stuff until you feel like you've got an emotion that you can try and squeeze it out. It's like tension kills truth. So like it's not necessarily the best way to look to capture what they're going for in the script. He cries. Oh God.
But you're good at it.
I always love hearing those, like, about them going through and finding all these personal things, because I find
Mm.
that always says a lot about the production, but sometimes, like you say, like maybe the audience doesn't pick up on it, but like sometimes the audience picks up on it, but then like focuses on things. And I think about, I did an interview with a guy who played the pilot Davis in Shield, and he disappears he like dies, and then he shows back up at another, like the next season, right? He's got this like scar, and there's all these like fan theories, and we like, so we had this theory about him being brought back to life, and like this scar is like similar to this like other scar from who's like this one of the immortals who has this, but she like her blood, like they use whatever. And he's like, nah, Jed was like, we're gonna give you a scar and you come back to life, and we don't know why. And it's like, so then when you're like, the audience might not pick up on it, I'm like, we don't always take the right thing from it.
Of
But
course
we
not.
pick up on
And
more, yeah.
it would be daft if I think people thought everything was going to be, like it's like, also in our show we've got like 25 lead characters,
Oh my
and
God,
like
so many
I watch it and
characters.
I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much detail and so much going on. But then honestly, I rewatched Mad Men recently, and the amount of detail in that, I really appreciate all those things those people did, because we do have the ability to watch things again and again. But ultimately, yeah, I years and years ago, I did a play in Chichester in England about the Romanov family, and there was a lot of us on stage, and the director said, I'd just like to remind everybody that there is a story in this. There is a story in this play that's important. So when you're on stage together, remember the focus of the story needs to be where it needs to be, because you're all, everyone's just doing some business.
Yeah.
He was like, you serve the narrative, the story is important, stop juggling in the background. Yeah, we're all hyperactive kids, basically.
Well, it's interesting
Yeah.
because we've talked, right from the first episode, it's like another new character
Oh my
today,
God.
or oh my God, 3 new characters in this episode. But
Yeah.
as I was driving in today, I was, specifically thinking of this episode, and also since we've been fortunate enough to see the whole season, there are so many more characters this season. And it feels like, we're just getting these sort of 2 and 3 minute scenes, if that. And yet I feel like I know these people so much better this season. There's so much more emotion from characters like Chow and Atoy.
That's a big one.
Whereas
Yeah.
in last season, we kind of got this almost caricature of who they were, that Chow's the man in control and he sees the big picture, and Atoy's the assassin. And we didn't get to really see them emotionally. But this season, even though there's so many more people,
Yeah.
and the scenes seem to be shorter, they're so much more dense and so much more emotional. And, I don't know what caused that expansion of characters and that sort of, it feels like a quicker style this year, but man, it's just so much more emotionally impactful.
Well, it's so
I don't
hard to
think there's
build
a
a world.
question there, but
It's like, everyone knows that the pilot is the most difficult one to write and shoot as well. And sometimes they shoot the pilot after they've shot episodes 2 and 3, and they go back once people have lived in. But I think we talked about this last time. If you go and watch the pilot of Sopranos, it feels really different to the rest of the show. But like this season, we are benefiting from all of that world building and the seeding of, it's a lot, all the different tongues, the political side of things, the legal side of things, not just the police department, but also the court system, and what all of these different communities are having to deal with, because the show really, it's a period, saying period drama makes it sound really fusty and stifled, and it's not. It's not that, but it is set in a world where everyone is being pitted against each other for different ends, and they're all struggling to survive. It takes time to build that world. Characters like Chow and Artoy, they're incredibly complicated. I mean, you talked about scars there. Like, the scars on Hoon's back or Chow's back in the story, a conversation with Hoon and Jonathan, and they've got a lot of history, having worked on Banshee together for years and years, and as did Langley and Lonnie, our director. Lonnie was actually a showrunner of Banshee towards the end, the final season or seasons, I believe. You know, these guys all know each other really, really well and discuss detail and character and pacing as well of when the characters are going to emerge. You know, and my character got a lot of focus in season 1, but it's building a structure with which everything has to sit in. The scars on his back came from a conversation with Jonathan where whom really wanted to discuss, you know, backstory with the view that these things are going to emerge and how this character is going to sit in the world and have a unique story and tell a story that we as actors have researched in the period about what people actually went through and about areas of that fit into the story, that fit into the narratives, that fit into what the show is trying to reveal to people. And Hoon's story is incredible, you know, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. There's more to come, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We've been really happy to see, the emotional side from him, because he's a phenomenal actor to see more of that, but it's just unexpected from his character last time. But I would say the same, with Lee Young and like Joe Taslim's character. We're seeing like they leaned very heavily on just fighting and looking very attractive last season, and this season you see more of the like emotional struggle and stuff. Not that we don't appreciate the other stuff, but like it is nice to see the I'm just gonna stop before I embarrass myself. I'm turning red. Fuck, I'm dead next week.
Well,
But,
I mean, Joe's a rock star, and he's a movie star, really. If we watch Joe work, he's the amount he can do with very little is phenomenal, and I'm so glad that we have him in the show. I can't do anything about your crush, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I mean, you wanted to talk about the detail, the nuance of his performance.
Yep.
You were able to because he's so attractive.
He just needs to keep
he
his
has to
shirt
live
on.
like
We'll be
that.
okay.
Joe has to walk around the world with that. Imagine the burden of being that attractive all the time. He no, don't think about that. You're totally distracted now.
No.
Then you remember he's got dandruff and needs to buy Head and
Yeah,
Shoulders.
it's like it's shampoo commercial.
I've got to tell you, I probably mentioned it last time, but one of the things that when I'd go and visit Joe when we were filming, Joe mainly eats just noodles. Like, I don't know how anyone's body looks that good when he eats the amount of noodles I've seen him eat. Like, it's ridiculous. I'll go around, he's like, let's just play video games and eat noodles. I'm like, how many hours have you trained today? How do you look like this? And I don't know, because he never reveals his secrets, but maybe he'll tell you next time he talks.
Hilarious. Oh, we'll bring up noodles then, I guess. Yeah. I mean, everybody is phenomenal. I think, and I feel bad. I feel like everybody is so phenomenal. We forget Andrew Kochi to talk about him sometimes, because like there's so many people and so many casts, and it's like, oh yeah, there's this other big story that is happening.
Yeah. Then that's what's so brilliant about it. Like Koji's character lives, like, that's about the long game of the storytelling of what happens to this character. Like, because he's sort of set up as the hero, and Joe is very much set up as the nemesis, and they have that fight which Assam loses, and now they've almost done a switch where Assam is becoming an anti-hero and Leong is becoming somewhat a man of integrity and thought and care, and that's putting him in a position with Diane. I'm forgetting everyone's character names. That's the problem with being so close as a cast, because we talk all the time. So like, I've never been part of a cast that actually kept in contact like this. Like, everybody talks on a daily basis still. So anyway,
especially a year and a half later.
Yeah, it's very unique.
But it does translate on screen. You you can tell when there's just that super team approach to everything, and that people really do care about each other and each other's performances, as well as, is the cinematographer getting what he wants? And, when there's that team approach, it absolutely shows on screen.
I wonder if it's a thing where, because we were all away from home, sometimes it's a unique set of people. It's a very large cast. We all train together. Believe it or not, some of us that don't take our shirts all the time do train.
I will say, Bill is looking more trim
train.
this season.
I just had like one cheese pizza less a week, and that was about it. No, that was about it. We hang out. We're away from home. We're often, we socialize together outside. Some of us don't film together at all. And those days when we don't film together, cast would come in to the studios. Now the studios is like an hour out of Cape Town's film studios. So cast would come to the studio now. And there were definitely days where we were filming sequences and you've got literally the entire cast at work and only a quarter of them are actually filming. And the poor directors and the ADs are like, oh my God, the whole fucking cast's here. And we'd be like, I'm going to go home. I think we're pissing everyone off. We're like, yeah, no, but they're doing the big sequence. They're doing the big sequence in the market and everyone wants to see it because it looks incredible.
Yeah.
And also we're helping each other out and stuff. So it's a really fantastic production. And yeah, I've worked on great productions.
Very like theater almost. You don't.
Yeah.
You see that more in the theater where people will go to other people's rehearsals or.
Yeah. So
yeah,
Jonathan,
you don't hear about that in television or film.
Jonathan Troper spoke to me at the start of season 2. Jonathan Troper spoke to me and said, "Look, Key, we are just letting you know, we're not going to do read-throughs this season for the blocks because he knows because I come from theatre world as well as TV, and we always do work around the table in the theatre, and it's a great way to see the arc of a story, and it's great to see everyone else's details. So you're not just focusing on the thing. My thing is important, and I always think it's a really great bonding experience for a company and a cast, and it makes it more cohesive. And if there's any problems, you can flag them up and you can ask questions and they can needle them out. So he says, "Yeah, Q, we're not gonna do read-throughs this season." And I said, "Okay." I said, "But I think it's really good for like bonding a cast and keeping it together." And he said, "You think we've got problems bonding in this cast?" And I was like, no, that's a good point. That's a really good point. He went, "It just drives the ADs nuts. Like we literally don't have time this season to film it all. So we've got to lose it." And I was like, "Yeah, cool. Well, it makes sense." Which is true because the second half of the season, we did what they call double banking. So we were filming 2 blocks at the same time.
Oh my God.
But because when we shoot Warrior, we often have a splinter unit that shoots action. That splinter unit that shoots action also has to do previses with full kit, with full team as well. And by that point, at the end of the season, we were also doing pickups for the other episodes from the beginning. And they were prepping the final episode that was shot last year, which was episode 6, which Dustin directed, which came right at the end when all of the budget had been spent on the other 9 episodes. And what that meant was we were double banking, but we weren't really. We're quadruple banking. We had like 4 sets running where everyone was going everyone was in every day, and also everyone was switching nights day as well. And Richard Sharkey and Brad, who the producers who put it together and held it together, I don't know how they did it. I think it nearly killed them. Us as actors, it was tough, but we love being at work every day. That's my preference, is just filming every day. But the creatives, the crew, all the different departments that had to split their units and carry all that, man, I've never seen anything like it. I wish they would release like sort of budgets and figures and schedules for how TV shows are getting made, like they do with sports teams, where they're like, this team's worth 200 million and this one's worth 200 grand. And I can't believe they won. Like the thing they pulled off, people wouldn't know. Nobody would know.
Right.
Like you just go, it's an amazing kung fu sequence. And I'm like, yeah, that was shot in a night. That was shot, you know how hard that is to do? Like, So I can't sing the praises enough of those guys, because we can be obsessive about whatever we do as individuals, but like, when we come in and go, I've got this thing that I really is important. They've got 20 other cast members doing exactly the same thing every day, and all the crews and everything else.
Yeah.
As you were explaining this, I stage managed for many years, and I just sitting here thinking, oh my God, the whiteboard they must have on this, showing where everyone is at all times and how they're breaking this days. I'm like,
well, I'll tell you something else, which is a big secret that they built. They on the whiteboard in the production office, and of course everyone's really friendly. So all the cast come like, "Hey guys," and we all go walking around the production office. On the whiteboard, there is an enormous 6 foot by 4 foot map of the set of Chinatown, and this when we first turned up for season 2, and all of the major incidents for the 10 episodes are written on the map. But we as a cast only had episode 1, I think. And I was in the production office and I looked at the wall, and I was standing with a castmate who doesn't make it to the end of season 2, who was not aware of that. And I was like, oh, look at this out here in the kitchen. And I was like, guys, you've got to get the map off the wall. And they were like, oh, no, we're just planning. I was like, I know you're planning. I know. Yeah, I know. But, and everyone was like, oh, we'll just get a marker. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure. Is that a bad thing to share? I don't think. Nobody did anything wrong.
Yeah.
right.
Just working.
Yeah.
Nobody did. If anything, we should have really been walking around production.
You were snooping.
Yeah.
This was a snoop. Yeah.
We were snooping. Of course we were. We wanted to know who was going to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, thank God it's not me. Or maybe it's me. I don't know. It depends how many episodes you've watched.
Yeah.
The scene with Chow in episode 4 was one of my favorite scenes to shoot. Not only because it was with my lovely friend Hoon, but because the characters, when we meet them in episode 1, they have an established relationship, which, given that it's the pilot, we had to discuss a lot and sort of like try and work out, what that might be. And I buy weapons from Chow, and there's a certain amount of trust that's been built up through kind of street justice, street kind of smarts, and an agreement that we're trying to keep an equilibrium on things, and that Chow, although he may do illegal things, helps keep an equilibrium and helps inform and somehow walks that tightrope. And then, of course, between then and having this sit down in episode 4, that's been severely tested, because I've been put under pressure by Lee and other people to put more pressure on Chow and squeeze him, and that's sad for Bill, because that's one area of his integrity, or one area of his life where he feels like he has a relationship that someone understands that he does have his back. He is going to trust him because it's been earned through stuff, and he's let Chow down within that relationship. So having this, what really feels like a sort of game of poker, where Chow can't explicitly say exactly what he means, and Bill, certainly where he is at that time, can't explicitly say what he means. They can make some sort of agreement of, we're going to make some sort of plan and pact to try to bring the relationship back into line and get an outcome that works for everybody. Because, if the idea of their relationship is to keep an equilibrium and know that it's mutually beneficial, if they have a discourse that works, Zing has disrupted that for everybody. Yeah. And he's too dangerous. He has to go. So it's that area outside of the law that Bill is happy to operate in.
Well,
and it's such a great.
Those two characters are so. I mean, everybody is so good, but it's important, and I feel like they are a lodestone for what's going on with the rest of the show, if that makes sense. Like, that you can kind of like the chaos around them, the relationship between those two is very much reflective of what is happening everywhere else.
Yeah, I'd say they're right at the coalface of what it means to make a compromise and do it for the right reasons. Like as it were, Bill representing the Irish people and Chow representing the Chinese people in this city that are being squeezed politically and for all of the different kinds of reasons, saying, I'm just trying to do what's best. Well, I'm just trying to do what's best as well. We're just trying to survive. So if I can help you and you can help me, maybe we can try and keep a lid on the crazy, on the extreme stuff that happens. And of course, they get forced into these situations. And also, you know, those good intentions, that they can be applied to certain situations, like a larger political idea. But then when you're an individual and you're up against it, like Bill with Zing, you know, working away, you know, Chow implies that he knows about that in episode 1 when Bill got in season 2. You know, he implies that he knows that Bill's working for Zing, which it's a shameful thing to Bill.
Right.
Bill doesn't want to admit that to anyone, that he doesn't have to. And it's a completely different version of himself that he would present to a person who is in debt, to somebody who'd broken the law. He has no problem being sanctimonious and sitting behind the law and doing good when he has to. And he also doesn't have a problem. So it's weird that he has this relationship that sort of seems like it's honorable and has integrity, because really it's built on being Machiavellian, actually.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great, is you have all these different sort of groups that have these honor-based relationships with each other, and there's really no honor in any of it. And none of them aware that, like, Zing comes in and throws everyone off their game because he won't play by the rules. And nobody knows that Buckley is over there trying to manipulate the entire thing, and thinks that he's in control of everything that's going on. And, you know, so you have all these people who think they're in control, having no idea what is going on in the bigger picture, manipulating all of them.
On that, like in episode 4, it's not that it isn't shown in other episodes, but I'm very aware of the fact that everybody's in over their head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lee's getting further in over his head. Chow and Artoy are going in on an adventure, which Chow says, you know, I'm about to do something really stupid. Sophie does something really stupid. Leary does something really stupid by taking Sophie along. You know, I think the episode ends with Sophie, you know, traumatized.
Mm.
Everybody is,
Which frankly she kind of deserves.
Yeah, but you could argue that everybody does that.
Yes.
You know, but Bill deserves to have his family taken away from him from the awful choices he makes. You know, you can have good intentions, but you're going to get measured by your actions, and everything he does is, you know, he makes bad decisions constantly.
We want to love him so bad.
That's good.
You still care about him.
No.
Don't care about him.
He's not. He's not like Buckley, where we're like, oh, he's so creepy. Everything he does is creepy.
Did you say that to Langley? I bet he was really pleased.
Yeah, he's like, well, I love him.
He said, yeah, he was like, I don't think he's creepy. I was like, no, he is.
He knows he's creepy. Yeah, God, that's so funny.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm gonna need to wrap so that my children don't burn down the house. But we appreciate you spending so much time with us, and we can't wait to see what's next.
And we would love you to come back and talk about what the fuck, Bill.
Thanks, and tune in next week for another Need to Know session at the Crib. Follow us on Twitter @StrikebackCrib. Out.